Oh my God. Are we really this close to the end? I know I'm happy and I'm sure you're happy. So, only two more videos to watch. They are both means tests. That means you're looking at tables that are giving averages. And they're taking averages of the coded answers. Like if I'm going to click this variables button and let's say I'm going to go find heavy metal music, right? Look at the answer choices here. Same for all the music ones. Like very much, all the way down to dislike very much. And the values are 1 through 5. So if we did a means test on, age versus heavy metal, age would be the independent variable, then you would get an average for each age group somewhere between 1 and 5. Okay? Let's take a look at the assignment sheet. You know how to run this thing. The first one is independent samples t-test. And when we look in SPSS and run this test, you're going to see that there's 3 or 4 t-tests in the little window. So you want to make sure when you're running this test that you pick this exactly. Independent samples t-tests. And you'll see what I mean in a second. Another thing about means tests is that you cannot use nominal level variables for the dependent variable. Nominal is like marital status or religious affiliation. It just wouldn't make any sense to take, the values 1 through 5 for the 5 religious affiliations and take an average of that. So just make sure that whatever variable you use for the dependent variable, the answer list can be ranked, like very unsatisfied all the way up to very satisfied, or number of years of education, and you can take an average of that. Okay, so the first one we're going to look at is this independent samples t-test. You'll see in a minute that you are limited to 2 groups in your independent variable, like males and females, or people under 30 years old, and another group is people 30 and over. There are different ways that you can set it up, so you can always end up with only 2 groups. So, how to run it? From the menu bar, analyze, compare means. Again, make sure you select independent samples t-test. The t-test window will open up. There will be 2 boxes or cells that you can move variables into. The independent variable goes into the grouping box. That's the one down below. And when you move a variable in there, you'll see a button light up that says define groups, because you have to tell SPSS, which 2 groups are you using. So there's 2 ways you can do it. You can define it by numeric values, which is the exact value that goes with a certain answer, like 1 equals male and 2 equals female, or you can set a cut point. So if you have a huge interval level variable, like number of years of education, you can cut it at 12. So you have everybody with a high school education or less, and everybody above high school education. Or you can cut it at 16, so you can break the 2 groups into people with a college education and those without. The example I have here is for age, 30. And the dependent variable goes in the top box, which is the test variable box. There is a button. You do not need to click it. It is the options button. So after you move the two variables in their respective boxes and define the grouping variable, then you just click OK. What do you see? It's pretty easy to read. I'll tell you in a second. What do the means tell you about your independent variable groups? Are the means statistically different? And is the test significant? Okay, I don't want you to worry about these two things. It's important, but I don't want to confuse you in an online class, and it will confuse you. Okay, so once you look at the tables, just determine these three things. Okay, so let's go run a couple of these suckers. Remember, we have our SPSS. I have the GSS93 subset in there. That's the file that is open. I have also set the variable list. So my list of variables are in alphabetical order by variable name. Okay? If you forgot how to do that, you have to go to Edit and Options and make these two changes. Every time you open SPSS, the variable lists are going to be displayed by labels in the order of the file. Click Display Names and Alphabetical and click OK twice, and you are good to go. Okay, so let's do this. Analyze and compare means, and boom, look at all these things. There's 4 t-tests in there, but only one says exactly what we want. Independent samples t-test. And you see the window pops up, you have the grouping variable and the test variable. So let's do an easy one. I'm going to move sex into the grouping variable. And you can see that it says sex and there's 2 question marks because you have not defined the groups yet. And if I click Define Groups, then specified values is here. Group 1 is 1 and group 2 is 2. Now, how do I know that? Because I know that males are equal to 1 and females are equal to 2. But if you have to check, go up here and click that variables button and go down to sex and look at it. Here's the labels and here are the values. It'll help you every time. Now, what do we want to look at here? How about the number of hours that you watch TV per day? So that is my dependent variable, and I'm going to move it up in the test variable box. We don't have to click any buttons at all. So I'm going to click OK. Holy God in heaven, look at all that information. Well, the really wonderful thing is that you are going to use both these tables, but you're only using one piece of information from each table. And in the group statistics table, what you're going to use is this, the means. Here you have males and females, and this is the mean number of hours males and females watch TV per day. So what are you going to say about it? Well, females have a higher mean, so they watch more TV in a 24-hour period. Not really a whole lot, but they do have a higher mean. Down here in this gigantic table, look, oh my God, there's a significance value here and a significance value here. What are we going to do? Well, I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to use this one. It says sig two-tailed. And I know that there are 2 values here for significance, but I can almost guarantee you that every t-test that you run both of these values are either going to be 0.05 or above, or they're both going to be less than 0.05. You can see that these two are both above 0.05. And that means that this test is not significant. Okay? The other piece of information that you need is that are these groups, the independent variable groups of male and female, are they statistically different? Remember, don't get statistically different mixed up with significant. Those are two entirely different things. Okay, so in order for either of the means tests that I'm going to show you, this is t-test. I'm also going to make a video for analysis of variance. The difference between the lowest and the highest mean has to be greater than 0.5 in order for you to say that those, whoa, don't go away like that. That these two groups, males and females, are statistically different. So I'm going to take 2.99 and subtract 2.78, and what I get is 0.21, and that is not greater than 0.5, right? So these two groups, males and females, are not statistically different. Okay, so here's how you're going to report this test. My null hypothesis was that there's no difference between males and females and how many hours a day they watch TV. I ran an independent samples t-test and found that females, on average, watch more TV per day than males. However, the difference between the means is not great enough to say that these two groups, males and females, are statistically different, which means that I am going to accept the null hypothesis. And finally, this test is not significant at the 0.05 level. Bing! That's what you got to do. All right, let's run another one. Now remember this button? I think I showed you either in crosstabs or correlation. This button with the little green arrow pointing straight down is that dialog button. And it just saves you from having to go back here and here and here, right? All I have to do is go beep, boom, and the test is up. Okay, so unlike crosstabs and correlation, I didn't make any button selections here. So if I click reset, all I have to do is move two more variables in here. And we'll be fine. So let's go get, what are we going to get? Education, right? We're going to put education in the grouping variable. That is our independent variable. And remember, the answer to that is the number of years of education you have. And it ranges from 0 to 20. So when I define groups, this is not going to work. I have to go down here and click cut point and put it wherever I want, right? So what did I say? I think I'm going to put it at 13. Because actually when I said looking at a high school education or less, I said 12, but I think 13's going to work. So what do we want to look at here? Well, we could look at drink, right? Do you drink alcohol? But unfortunately, this is just a nominal level variable. So that's not really going to work. We have to find something with an answer list that is ranked. So let's get income 91, because you remember that there's a lot of answers to this. So, and remember, it's going to take the mean from these values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 21. So let's move that in the test variable box and click OK. Ding, ding, ding. And here's our two tables, okay? The highest years of school completed groups are less than 13, so that is a high school education or less, and 13 years and up. So that is beyond high school, anywhere from 1 year of college to a bachelor, master's, and PhD. And here are the two means, right? Look at the difference here. There's almost a 4.000 difference between those with a high school education and those with more education. Definitely the people with more education have a higher mean. Okay, so also I'm going to look at these two means and see if the difference is greater than 0.5. Now you can probably just look at it and know that it is, but I'm gonna use the calculator anyway. The difference between these two means is 3.926. That is definitely greater than 0.5. So these two groups of number of years of school completed are statistically different. Now, if you want to get tricky, you can look down here and see the mean difference, and then you'll just see the difference between the two means. You don't have to use your calculator. Okay? But whatever is best for you. So, where am I going to find the significance? Well, not over here. I'm going to look in the sig two-tailed and look at both these numbers are less than 0.05. They're flat zeros. So this test is significant. So if this is a test for my paper, my null hypothesis said that the number of years of school completed will not affect total family income. I ran a independent sample t-test and came up, I set the cut point at 13, which split the groups into high school education or above. And these are the two means that I got. People with more than a high school education definitely have a higher income. And the means are far enough apart so we can say that these two groups of number of years of school completed are statistically different. Therefore, we can reject the null hypothesis. And this is a significant test at the 0.05 level. God, is that the most exciting thing you've ever learned in your life? Everything in this class, right? I always ask students in class, is this the greatest class you've ever had in your college career? All right, I'm going to show you one more thing. Okay, we're going to do one more t-test. I'm going to get these variables out of here. And let's say that you want to do a t-test with a variable that has more than two categories or answers, but you just want to pick two. Now, PollViews, remember, has 7 answers, extremely liberal down to extremely conservative. So if I want to define the groups using specified values, I can just use 1 and 7. So my first group is going to be extremely liberal. The second group is going to be extremely conservative. You don't have to pick a variable with only 2 categories in order to define the groups using specified values. So let's see, political views and, well, we already know from the select if assignment that, conservatives are way against giving pills to high school students. So let's just run it a different way. Pillow K is my dependent variable. Poll views is my independent variable. And once again, I'm just running these twice so I can get the tables in the middle here. Okay, so here's my means table. There's my two groups. And here are the two means. Extremely conservative has a much higher mean, at least 1 point higher than extremely liberal. These two means are far enough apart, so I can say that these two groups are statistically different. 2.70 minus 1.68 is 1.02. That is definitely greater than 0.5. So, conservative has a higher mean than liberal. These two groups are statistically different, which means we can reject the null hypothesis. And according to this SIG two-tailed column, both these numbers are less than 0.05, so it is a significant test. Okay? So, once again, if this is a test for my paper, this is the way I'm going to report it. My null hypothesis stated that a person's political ideology would not affect how they feel about giving birth control to teenagers. I ran an independent sample t-test with these two groups, extremely liberal and extremely conservative. I found the conservative group to have a much higher mean. They are more against it. The means are far enough apart to say that these two groups are statistically different. Therefore, I am rejecting my null hypothesis, and this test is significant at the 0.05 level. Okay? So that's how you run these suckers. And one more video, man. I only have to make one more video. Yes. Remember, I think I said this in Crosstab. When you are going to copy and paste a table from t-test, copy this table, not this one. This is a gigantic table, and it only has a tiny bit of information. And what we're really interested in here is the means. So if you're going to copy this, however you copy it. I think if you're working on a PC, then you can go copy as an image and paste it as an image. But if you're in a Mac, you're just going to have to end up right-click and copying and right-click and pasting, especially if you're pasting into Google Doc. So I understand the difficulty, and that's the way it is. All right, that's the end of this video. So I will see you in the next one. And remember, you're all burnt out and stressed out, and all you got to do is pull hard for a few more weeks, and you will make it out of this class and a semester. Okay? Super proud of all of you. All right.